Hey, welcome. We are live here.
Sorry, too excited.
Yes, this is Shore to Shore.
Between the Shores.
Between the Shores.
Yep, shoulder to shoulder.
Weekly podcast that I've been on. This is my third week,
Yeah.
so this is exciting.
In your second full-on introduction.
It's true. This is my second introduction I've ever done.
Yeah, and this is the beginning week of the cat's away and the mice will play.
Yes, the mice are playing, but this purpose of this is that we discuss things about Sunday and how they apply in the time between both Sundays, and how do we live and walk our lives in following Jesus' way.
Yeah.
So this Sunday, it was there's three speakers.
Yeah.
Jammed into one slot.
Yep.
You were one, Pastor Andrew was one, and Tracy. So they talked about Sabbath.
Yep.
Because Tracy is officially on sabbatical.
Yes.
As of today.
Yeah.
So that's why they get us.
Yes.
So yeah, Joel, why don't you maybe highlight quickly what some of the stuff they shared, and then we could chat a little bit about what sabbatical means for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. I mean, Andrew shared life experience and the reality of, look, if you don't take a sabbatical, it's going to catch up on you. And he shared his experience and story on that. And if you haven't seen the sermon videos, I'd highly recommend going back and looking at it. Tracy really laid out. Actually, she laid out everything in my message. I didn't even need to. No, and then I talked about what a Sabbath is not. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of one of those things that when you think about Sabbath, I just remember as a kid thinking, man, Sunday is like the day of rest, you know, and but we're not really good at resting. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, we're not good at sitting still or quiet or anything, and really that's the whole challenge of Sabbath and sabbatical, and that's, I think, the challenge for us. And the impetus of Tracy's going on sabbatical is just for us as a church, you know, as go the leader, so goes the church.
Yep.
And just saying, okay, so how do we all deal with Sabbath? How do we deal with rest? How do we, you know, really do that? I mean, we're supposed to actually do that every week. Mm-hmm. That's supposed to be part of the rhythm of life. Now, Sunday for most is doesn't end up being a Sabbath.
Yeah.
So how do you make it that? I mean, it is the whole thing of community coming together, but do you have a down day? Yeah. Do you have a down day?
No.
No.
Well,
okay.
Kind of.
Try to?
I try. Saturdays I try to.
Yeah, and then we throw a work day.
But then there's a work day, and then there's this. So.
Yeah, men's breakfast, and then someone leaves the refrigerator open, and there's always something.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of the same thing. And even on a Sabbath day, a day I've scheduled, it's hard to just shut things off and say, okay, God, I need to focus on you. I need to hear from you, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I struggle with. I'm decent doing, you know, getting into the Word every day and praying. Yep. The spiritual discipline of silence and solitude is I tried that last summer to do a weekend away, and I think I lasted a day and a half.
Yep.
And I was talking with someone yesterday about this same thing, and they made the point, you know, at least you made it a day and a half.
Yeah.
So, I think, you know, one question, because I don't have kids.
Yep.
And I'm not married yet.
Yep.
How does someone with a family and a full-time job and kids and a wife and housework, how does because I feel like those are the obstacles that people will say, well, I can't take a Sabbath because I'm
got stuff to do.
Got family, you know, the kids are gone all week, so at school, you know what I mean? How does someone approach Sabbath when they're they've got all that stuff going on.
I've kind of thought about it this way. If I was really into golfing and I wanted to go on a golf weekend with my buddies, I would. If I was really into a sports event, I'd be off to the hockey tournament and I would. So yeah, we will if we make it a priority. Mm-hmm. So it's making it a priority. We don't, and we should. And the times that I have, and it has been more consistent. It is good, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard to get away from your phone. It's hard to get away from the internet, and just even the distractions of, like even in the last 6 months of coming on staff here, I've been trying to do it once a month, and I think I've only done it twice in 6+ months. Mm-hmm. It's really, you can fill your schedule, and same thing. No problem with daily disciplines, with times of prayer, even journaling more, having a spiritual director, all those disciplines that are good, that are about quieting and hearing from God and praying and focusing on the word and filling back up. But like a total Sabbath, getting away from stuff, silence, don't do that. In fact, I think back to my own sabbatical back in, I think it was 2016 or 2015. We got into the wind down part, but never got into the sabbatical part because all sorts of issues came up. We ended up having to come all the way back home from where we were down south because it just, emergencies came up. And it's not easy. But it's something you have to be really intentional about.
I think too, getting rid of like the distractions. Like for me, for Lent, I got rid of all social media. And I didn't realize how often you just kill time by scrolling.
Reeling through the reels.
So I got it back after Easter, and then yesterday I was like, I'm just so tired of just now there's a new term called brain rot. And that's what they're saying. So I'm like, I need to get rid of social media again because it's such a time waster. But I think for me that's almost like a first step in practicing a Sabbath, because like what was wrong, like when I tried it last summer, like getting away for a weekend, it was like I was like wanting, like I was like, it's an addiction. And so it's not like, I think looking at it too, not like it's like someone who's not read the Bible a lot is not going to sit down and go for 2 hours. Like it's not going to happen. So it's like, I think to you have to build a capacity for it. So it's like starting maybe little by little. So maybe it's not a full day, but you prioritize 2 hours. And you start building that. Because it's like for me, when I like as a teenager, sitting down and reading the Bible for 2 hours would be like
great way to fall asleep.
Great way to fall asleep. Right. So I think it's almost like building your capacity and being mindful in it. Like my big thing, even when I don't have any work on Saturdays, what am I doing that's honoring God and giving me life, instead of just playing video games and doing stuff like that, right?
And it's I mean the biggest thing, which is odd, but the biggest thing for I think our culture in this generation is just distraction. There's so much distraction, and once you remove that, then it's the whole issue of the withdrawal of all the things that used to occupy your attention that you don't really need, but you think you need. But then that's almost kind of like the addiction to the distraction. And I remember the very first time I ever took a sabbatical time. I was going through a really hard situation early on in ministry, and my mentor said, you need to get away for a whole week. And they had a cottage and said, you're going to this cottage for a whole week. And now this was back in the late 80s, and there was no cell phones. So if I needed to make a call, I had to walk all the way up, like a mile up this hill, to a store where there was a payphone.
Yeah.
And that was it. So that wasn't a thing. But oh my goodness, just being that week, I journaled, I read books, I listened to music, and I went on a lot of walks, and I literally cried a lot because I had never been alone with my own thoughts, you know, and there was like nobody around. Like it was way out in New Brunswick along the St. John River, and it was like, it was just, and it wasn't great weather either. Yeah. But yeah, it really stretched me, but man, did God ever come through. I mean, in a huge way. And it was like you had said about how you're trying to do a weekend, you know, it's hard, but it's almost kind of like learning how to swim. You either jump off the deep end and learn how to swim, or you're easing in, you know. So I don't know which method is better. I don't know. I'm kind of a jump off the deep end kind of person, but
I'm gonna stick my toe in.
Stick your toe. wade into the sabbatical pool. But it is, and honestly, I can't say I've done it. I can't say I've done it well. Even just, you know, the last 2 weeks when our family went to Italy, you know, there's all the excitement, the anticipation. This is a vacation. This is not a sabbatical. But all of a sudden, when you find yourself in a foreign country where nobody, in the first city we lived, nobody hardly spoke English. We had a hard time finding people at restaurants that spoke English, so we could even get service. And that was like, oh, did I make a mistake? You know, I mean, it was I was nervous about that, but then you get into it and things are a little better. But it was like, wow, this is completely out of my element. And I think that's the thing with sabbatical too, that, and even taking a Sabbath rest, just one day out of 7 for part of that day is a challenge. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. But
it's worth it.
And it's one of those things that God, well, he both requires it of us and invites us into. Tracy left this material here from Pete Scazzaro, and there's a bunch of these in the church you guys should grab, and you can download it online, called Rediscovering Sabbath. Here, I'll hold it a little bit stiller, and we'll put this in the notes anyway. But it's really, really good stuff to look at. I haven't looked at it. Have you looked at it?
I just flipped through it, but
yeah, his stuff is good. But really, as a whole church, this is. I think we all need to look at this, you know, and maybe some of you, please put it in the comments or let us know. How do you do Sabbath? Is Sunday a day of rest? Do you take, like you said, a Saturday? Do you schedule it in maybe once a month? Is that something you could do? How do you do that? You know, how do you do that with kids? How do you do that, you know? Wherever your station in life is. How do you take that time? You know, like last week you guys talked about taking out the garbage and everything. I mean, so yeah, that's the distractions. You know, you got to prepare to be there. Yeah.
Good. Well, this is another week. This week coming, we're back in Philippians.
Yes. Chapter
3. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And we never really talked about how we're going to end this, but... No,
we haven't. We're just taking a break. No, it's good. And definitely, probably, you know, we're going to continue on and looking forward to the summer season. But we want to be, I think, just as intentionally saying as a church, let's be praying for Tracy and Ron as they head out on sabbatical, but make sure that we enter into that ourselves. So let's, you know, between the shores, between the Sundays here, how can we challenge each other to rest? How can we challenge each other like I think, I was saying this to my sons the other day, I like to think of life as 3/8. There's 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of time with your family. Mm-hmm. Where are you connecting with God in that? And if you're gonna skimp on any of those, which is it gonna be? Yep. So which of those 8s? Can you give one of those 8s for one of 7 days to God to say, okay, where do you want to speak to me? And make a plan how to do that. Look at Pete Scazzero stuff. Yep. Pray and ask God. Maybe sit around and wait for a tow truck. Yeah. But how do you use that? How do you use that? Yeah.
Well,
signing off.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Give us a post or a check, and we'll also put this on YouTube and Instagram, and keep coming in and invite out, family, friends to walk with you, to be a part of what we're doing this summer here at Summerside Community. But live it out. I mean, it's Jesus calls us to follow Him, not to follow a church or to follow anybody else, but to follow Him, and that's the Church Universal that we're called into.
Yep. Well, have a good day, and see you later.
God bless. Bye-bye.
In the corner.
In the corner? Yeah. Oh, there it is.
No, the other corner.
This one. Oh, finish.
Yeah.
Bye.